All right. Let's clap it up. Welcome to episode 79 of the Five-A-Side podcast. Today we are joined by a very special guest, our first guest of 2025. Who are we joined by today?
Christopher Korte.
Absolutely. Appreciate you coming through, bro. Gotta clap it up for our guy real quick. We've known him for quite some time. I think we first met in person.
Yep.
Miami, summer 2022, if I'm not mistaken. Josh, am I correct? Is that right?
My thing is where?
At the Footy Fashion event, no? I think it's the first time we met in person, right?
Yeah. We had talked on Instagram a little bit before
Yeah,
we definitely
that was the first time.
We connected. I saw you guys running around do the media. I was like,
yeah, facts, doing the fit checks and everything.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
yeah,
what a time that was.
No,
but as always, today you are joined by the rest of our cast. So we have,
What's going on, everybody? Seb?
yes, sir, Gabriel here.
Josh.
Kendrick.
All right, about to get into a very special episode, something that I think is going to be very educational, very informative to people, not just globally, but especially here in the U.S. So, Chris, you represent the UPSL. If you want to break that down and then talk a little bit about what you're going to get into today.
Yeah, basically, so I'm out in Miami at the headquarters of the United Premier Soccer League, the unofficial semi-pro soccer league in North America, the biggest semi-pro soccer league in North America, U.S. soccer sanctioned, 4th division. And really the goal is just about bridging the gap between amateur and pro soccer. So creating a platform, creating opportunities, and just giving people ability and chance to showcase themselves and make moves in their soccer career.
Absolutely. And you have the spring season coming up here, as well as a lot of success stories. But if you want to break down a little bit more of what it means specifically within the soccer pyramid, so people can kind of understand where that opportunity lies in this country.
Yeah, for sure. So everybody knows MLS is the top tier in this country, Division One. Right underneath it, USL Championship, and then we've got USL League One and League Two. So we're probably right about the level of League Two, USL League Two. Not full-time soccer, not professional soccer, no contracts, but consistent play is there. It's adult soccer, and it's very, very high level, and we're nationwide. And I think the only league in North America to have promotion and relegation. So we're trying to shake it up, man. We're trying to, like I said, bridge the gap and do things other leagues aren't doing. And a big part of that is just providing opportunities for everybody across America. So, yeah, doing important work.
Absolutely love
for
it.
Sure.
Anybody,
Question from me. What do you feel like is the importance of like relegation, or like why do you think it's important in general for leagues to consider that as an opportunity?
Yeah, I mean that's an age-old question right here in America because growing up we know college ball, we know about the MLS, we know about all the other leagues, and they're not really connected. So the problem with that is you're kind of just bouncing around from team to team and league to league, and it's not really aligned. And so, I'm proud of the fact that we're the first ones to create separate divisions, separate leagues, and we have, 28 conferences across the country. Everybody at the end is competing for a national championship. So it's really just all about getting everybody in the same bucket. And, we're still working on our relationship with the MLS and other leagues in the country. And even with the MLS, we're bringing those guys in. They're playing their reserve sides in our leagues. Mm-hmm. So the connection is already there.
Right.
I think it's super important. Some of the guys you're seeing play on the MLS academies, on their U19 sides, on their U20 sides. You see them in the UPSL on one day, and you see them in the USL Championship on the next day, and MLS Next Pro on a different day. So I think what we're doing is we're being flexible. We're letting people play for different teams and different leagues at the same time, and we're also being open-minded and working with all the different competitions that are here in the U.S. So, this country has a long history of kind of just creating leagues and closing it off to create partnerships and work with other leagues, and I think we're really the biggest one and the only one to kind of just be open-minded about that. Starting off with the UPSL, we had a couple of struggles. We were sanctioned by this group, and we were working with these guys, and these guys didn't want to work with that guys. And ever since we got that deal from U.S. Soccer to be fully sanctioned by just them, we don't really have to answer to nobody. And so that gives us the ultimate flexibility to just create a platform that works best for all involved. So, super proud of that. And, I'm eager to see more people start to do that. You see the USL just are looking to launch a Division I program to rival the MLS. And, that kind of stuff just makes us go backwards, in my opinion. You know what I mean?
Interesting.
So that type of stuff, we need to connect more.
I was going to say, even hitting on what you just brought up in terms of the flexibility, even just the semi-pro structure within contracting and things, one of the things that's most important for players in general in this country is to know different trajectories to get to the professional game. What are some of the trajectories that you've seen? As you said, even MLS Academy Reserves can play in the UPSL, but are there other ways people can look to the UPSL to be part of their journey and part of their direction into making ball their career.
For sure. I mean, like the success stories we have in the UPSL, no two are alike. And that's what I love. Like, so we have top level players. They go on to play Division I college ball, or they're signing an agent and they're going to go play overseas. We've had guys start their careers off in Romania, you know what I mean, Norway, Azerbaijan, wherever the heck they can get a contract at. But the point is, like, we're not stopping them. We help work with those teams. We work with those parties involved, and you know, everybody's journey is different. You know, we have players, like I said, going to college, going overseas to play lower divisions, you know, in Eastern Europe. We've got people going straight to the MLS. You know what I mean? We've had a guy that was playing college ball till he was the age of like 22 or 23. And then he played for a UPSL team against Atlanta United U19s, and he scored 4 goals against them. And then they signed him to a contract, you know, 2 weeks later. Wow. So it's like, if you show up on the weekends in the UPSL and you ball out, people are watching, people are going to find you. And like, that's why I'm so happy that we have the national championship platform, because that's what the real eyeballs are on. Because if you can win a semi-pro national championship and you have that on your resume and people see you balling out against MLS clubs, like, that raises a lot of eyebrows. And even college scouts are interested in that too. So like I always say, like, you never know what could happen. If you go out and ball on the weekends, you don't ever know what could happen, you know, literally. So
I think what's dope to hear about it is that it very much sounds like a very nurturing environment that's looking for the best for the players and really caring about their future, rather than we often see with clubs. It's all about how can it be for me. So the clubs want to be profitable. They just want to, you know, potentially win championships, whatever it is, but they're not usually worried about the players themselves. And we talked about kind of the cross-sport comparison of the NBA with trades and how they'll just get rid of you like that no matter how talented you are. So it is really cool to hear that kind of support coming from not just the team, but the league, where it really is just about nurturing talent and making what's best for their career. So it's very positive to hear, for sure.
And the thing about, you know, amateur football or semi-pro footballers, there's no contracts. Teams come and go. And so we have plenty of guys that bounce around our league for playing for different teams, and they're just trying to create a professional career for themselves and trying to work on their career. So, you know, the opportunities are always open-ended, and you're never committed to one team. You're never stuck in one situation. You could always go down the street and play for the next semi-pro team. And so we have guys that play in our league 8, 9, 10 years for 4 or 5 different teams, and they're completely happy doing it because they're just waiting for their big break. So, you know,
Absolutely. Sub?
Can I ask, in terms of like scouting, how is the scouting done, and like what is the path for someone watching right now that's like playing and wants to find a way into the UPSL? Who should they reach out to, and like how does that work in terms of like people who, because we have a lot of people who watch the show who still play and who are still wanting to become professionals and are very young as well. So I guess, what is that path? How does the scouting work? Do you know? Yeah.
So for us, it's probably a little bit more informal. What I always tell people is, don't DM me asking about tryouts. Go on go on our website. Literally type in your city, type in your state where you're from, and it spits out a list of clubs in your area. And so what I encourage people to do is, you have to go reach out to those teams. You know what I mean? We can't, as a league, reach out to those teams for you. You know, we're not going to submit video highlights for you. But, you know, at this level, it is what it is. You got to be proactive, and that's the same thing when you're trying to get recruited for college. Like, the college is not going to come to you. You got to submit the tapes. You got to go to the tournaments. You got to talk to people. You got to email people. So I would compare it to players that are trying to get ready to play in college. You know, be proactive about it. Reach out. You can use us as a resource. Our website is a great resource, and just be proactive about it. You know, we don't try to facilitate that directly. Like we said, we try to keep it neutral. We want to let people make their own decisions. We want to let clubs work in their own ways. The only rule we don't have is no contracts. Let players do what they want. So, you know, I encourage people to go on the UPSL website, type in the state, type in the city you're from, and look at the teams in your areas and be proactive about it.
So you mentioned how the national championship is one of the the most major location for the scouts coming through to identify this talent. And I saw that over 320 teams are potentially competing for that trophy. So if you want to talk a little bit more about that national championship, because it's a very unique format compared to a lot of, you know, tournament structures that we see. Yeah.
So the thing about the national championship, I'm happy to announce that for spring 2025, we just doubled our total prize money from $10,000 to $20,000. So we're going to give the winner of our national championship $20K cash. So $50,000 total will be going towards all teams competing for the spring 2025 national championship. Amazing. So stuff like that, being able to incentivize the top teams to come in, keep incentivizing MLS teams to come in. I think that we got a lot of eyeballs in the national championship, and I think it's going to continue to grow just because that's the biggest semi-pro platform we have. You know, the last couple of years we've been broadcasting on BN Sports and with various other partners. You know what I mean? So we're trying to do our part to give people the access to watch the games and create that platform and doing whatever we can, increasing prize money, allowing people to, allowing more teams to partake, increasing the conferences. We just started a new conference. And we were talking about New Orleans earlier. We just started a new conference. It's called the Gulf Coast Conference.
Fire.
So we just had to open up our fourth conference or our third conference in California. We had NorCal conference and SoCal, and then we had to split those two, North and South, and now we got to do Central California conference.
Fire.
So we're growing every year. The prize money is increasing, and so I think that national tournament is going to get better and better. And with that, we're going to get better broadcast deals. We're going to have more teams from Europe interested in us, not just MLS teams. And I'll give you an example. We just had our spring 2024 national finals was at the Pittsburgh Riverhound Stadium. They're playing in the USL. And the whole organization, Pittsburgh, from top to bottom, they were really happy with what they did with us. They were happy putting on the event. They were happy to look at our players. They were happy to get involved with the UPSL, and learn more about us. And, that just makes us look better. And I think that's, one day I believe we're going to be having, cup finals similar to the USL championship level, possibly in MLS stadiums.
Wow.
And just keep getting bigger and bigger for sure. And then the goal in the next couple of years is to make that grand prize $100K.
Fire.
More money, more money.
Yeah, it's a fact.
Question. So, with over 15,000 players, right, in the league, what is it like to have to kind of balance all those different stories and all those different people for you in terms of how you, I guess, decide which stories to prioritize, and what have been some of the stories that have meant the most to you?
Yeah. So as director of marketing and comms of the UPSL, as you mentioned, it's kind of my goal to kind of promote these stories and kind of find these stories that need to be told. Obviously, we have an incredible amount of teams and not just diverse teams, but diverse players and, speaking different languages from different countries. And so some of my proudest work that I get to do is when I get to tell stories about people from small countries coming to America, not really knowing where they're going with their soccer career. Maybe they come here for education. Maybe they come here for it could be anything, to work in construction, anything. And then they end up on a UPSL team and then they just end up killing it. You know what I mean? And then suddenly this thing that they didn't know they could do full time or they could go pro with, they're starting to get a little sniff of the action. You know what I mean? So some of my favorite stories is my boy Kareem. He played for Kalanji Pro Profile in the Atlanta, Georgia area. He went to community college in ATL. He was the one I was talking about, dropped a hat trick on ATL U19s, or 4 goals rather, and he was able to get a pro deal at the age of 25. And, no prior experience, just going from community college soccer to MLS Next Pro and calling yourself a professional soccer player, making a full-time salary. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And I bet you, there's millions of kids out there that could do that have that ability, but they just stop playing at 23, 24, 25, and they're not thinking about that anymore. You know what I mean? So Kareem is a good one. I also I look at some of these teams, I got a team in the Washington area and I got a team in the Boston area. And some of these teams, they're made up of all Brazilians or all Argentinians or sometimes even all refugees, or maybe they're from Uganda or Somalia, right? And it's like a community project for them. They don't charge to play in your team.
It's fire.
But what you end up with is maybe not a money-making soccer club, but it's a team that provides opportunities for people that would never have it. You know what I mean? So anytime I see I'm always going through the UPSL registration site and I'm looking at the nationalities because that's what really intrigues me. And anytime I see a heavy concentration of a smaller country being represented in a certain area, those are the stories I chase.
Right.
So, I got a couple of internationals that play for the Bahamas, and they're playing for a couple teams in the UPSL. So I'm following their journey because I'm wondering how does the Bahamas national team look at, scout you and find you? How do you find that? We got a guy playing for Belize. He plays out in Los Angeles.
Fire.
You know what I mean? I mentioned the Somalian team that plays out in the Washington Pacific Northwest area. We've got a bunch of teams in the Boston area, stuff you wouldn't even expect, all Brazilians living in Boston, random stuff like that. And that just intrigues me. And I'm just those are the stories I chase because I'm just how did all y'all end up here? And what are you doing and what are you doing here? And most of it is I came here to just work part-time, or I came here to get education, and I just fell back into soccer. And then suddenly they're competing for a national championship. And I love that.
Yeah. I think it's really important that you're highlighting that aspect of it, like the community aspect of it. Because I feel like oftentimes, like one of the biggest criticisms of soccer in America is like the pay-to-play format, and the fact that like the sport is so inaccessible for a lot of people, especially folks who come from other countries and may not know or may not have the financial means to pay for certain types of club soccer. So, yeah, I just appreciate you like highlighting that aspect, because it's important for people to hear that, like, as much as we kind of highlight the dark side of like the pay to play format, there's also opportunities for folks to play for free that can lead to all types of opportunities.
Yeah, for sure. And that's why it's so important that we're sanctioned directly by US Soccer, because you're not paying us to pay another organization to pay them to pay them. Like we can keep doing what we're doing at such a low cost because of that direct sanctioning, and because we're able to kind of make our own shots and call our own shots. And so like to get your teams registered in the UPSL, it'll be like $1,000 and some change, and for our Premier Division, $3,000 max. You know what I mean? And then the per player registration is like $30.
Yeah.
So like this is nowhere near like when I was growing up, like $5,000 a year. Like
bro.
Yeah.
From the ages of like 12 to 16 or 17 or 18.
From the age of a youth.
You know what I mean? I wouldn't have been so broke in college if my parents saved that money, but apparently I had to play soccer that bad. I didn't know I was making lifelong economic decisions.
Right?
But
my parents said no to that. Damn, I would have been nice too.
No, I was waiting for my college scholarship that never came. But
American dream.
But I'm glad that I'm finally able to help like the next generation, or even guys a little bit younger than me, just find an easy way to play high level soccer, because that was so hard for me. Like I'm born in '93, growing up in the early 2000s, like, and then you get a little bit older and you find out like different clubs are beefing and you can't play in this tournament and play for that team and that type of stuff, and that didn't make any sense to me, because I'm just looking for opportunities for myself and to play more and to maybe go to college for soccer. But not knowing the political climate definitely held me back. And so working with the UPSL and just stripping all away those political conflicts and all that stuff that other people have to deal with, other leagues have to deal with, that's definitely special. And like I said, $30 to start playing, like it's a no-brainer.
I think it's kind of a glimpse of what U.S. soccer could look like.
Right. Yeah,
this could be the format. We could have all of our beautiful diversity showing up in the national team, in MLS, in the top leagues, if it had a different format. Because you're talking about a group of, I think you said Somalians in the Pacific Northwest, Brazilians in Boston. That's America. We have immigrant populations from all over the world in all these different cities and regions of the country that people don't even know about. So if you strip away all the pay to play and all the politics around it, you actually start to really reflect the true American population, which is so much different than what you see at the top level. So I think that's a really cool thing.
And who's the majority of the kids that can afford all these private training sessions and everything?
You already know.
You know what I mean? It's to go back to the college example, like, who can afford all the extra SAT classes and all that stuff?
Don't get me started.
Who gets into the good classes? You know what I mean? Like, I just got lucky. I took the SAT once and I got a good grade. I was like, that's it. We moving on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But not everybody.
Smart guy.
Not everybody can afford those opportunities by them or get lucky like me. You know what I mean? And so, that's something I've definitely noticed. If you look at like the youth national team, it'll be like either like foreigners or Latin American kids or African American kids who have no money, and it'll be like a bunch of white kids who have like who are able to afford all this extra stuff and all these extra opportunities. So just that disparity. You know what I mean? You see just like the top 1%, and then you see like kind of like everybody else.
It's a gap.
falling.
It's a gap.
It's a huge gap.
Yeah.
And so now that's what the UPSL is about. Like if you can ball, like come out and ball, and we'll see. You know what I mean? It's not like we're favoring anybody in particular.
You was bringing up your story earlier too. And this is a question not just for you, but all of y'all, even hearing what this league has to offer. What part of your soccer career would you have balled in the UPSL if you could do it again? You know what I'm saying? Like if you wasn't when you was in college before. Just to give an example for people, like looking back in my life, like when would I have integrated myself?
Honestly, I would have done it as soon as possible. Because if you look at like some of the MLS clubs that have their teams in the UPSL, they put 16-year-olds on the pitch.
That's the youngest that you could be? Or you could be younger?
We don't even have an age restriction.
Legally, you don't have
bro. You could be 12.
You know what I mean? Like, if you can play, you can play.
That's lit.
And so we have kids that are like 16, probably maybe even some 15 and a half kids, and they'll play against some 20-year-olds. And honestly, that's the best exposure you can have. So, my answer personally, I don't know about y'all, but I would have wanted to do it as soon as possible just to be able to get up to speed quicker. And the part that you can't really train, that you can't really practice, the part that you have to like figure out in game is the speed of play, is like strength, holding the ball.
Sure, yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's
like
Intensity.
the intensity,
Urgency, sense of urgency.
exactly.
Yeah.
Moving into space, not moving into people. You know what I mean? Like,
Come on, coach.
Yeah,
there
seriously.
you go. You know what I
seriously.
mean? So
Fair.
it's that kind of stuff you can't really learn. So I would have definitely got my butt kicked, but the answer is I would have probably jumped in there, probably sophomore, junior year, high school, and that would have definitely helped my development.
What's the answer for you?
As soon as possible. Bro.
Yeah, I think it makes sense because you want to prepare yourself as
See
much
the
as you
money.
can for the future. So the earlier you can,
Yeah,
What about you,
this
bro?
it's definitely something that everybody should be, like academy kids or kids trying to play in college right now. You should definitely be playing in the UPSL in addition to your normal club team because it's just that added experience. You know what I mean? Like, so you should be training with a full-time academy, and you should also be competing against people 4 or 5 years older than you, so you could really get that step up. Right? So
How does that actually work though? So like if I don't know, if I'm like a 17-year-old kid or an 18-year-old, or I just started college or something. Yeah, let's use that example. Let's say I'm playing college ball. I could also try out for a UPSL team at the same time.
yeah, honestly, I mean, we even have a college team. So USC Trojans.
Oh, they're in the UPSL.
Yeah, so I think
Wow.
I don't know if they cut their men's soccer team or if their club team is the one organizing it.
Gotcha.
But there's a team in the UPSL called the SC Trojans, and those are the USC Trojans. And those guys over there from their team, they formed a UPSL team
Oh,
to
wow.
help supplement their training.
That's
Wow.
fire.
So to answer your question, yeah, you could do both at the same time. And I just did a story on this kid playing for the Bahamas, goes to school in Buffalo, New York,
Gang.
plays for the Bahamas,
Yeah.
and
Cool as
he was able to submit his footage to the Bahamas national team because of his UPSL footage. 'Cause
Fire.
the league
Yeah.
requires you to record every game.
Sure, yeah.
Fire.
So like he's playing for like a D3 school.
What's his name?
Probably wouldn't have. What's his name?
Uh-huh.
If I knew it right now, I would tell
I'll
you.
find it for you. I'll find it.
It's on the UPSL website. If you go on
I'll give it
upsl.com
to you so you can
/news.
keep going. I'll toss it for
Free
you.
promo. He about to.
Was he
enjoy
at
this.
Buff State or UB?
Trust me.
No, neither. It was a smaller school.
That's crazy.
It was a
To
smaller
not be to be in Buffalo, but it's not BU or Buff State.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's
It's
how you
just-
know it's a niche story.
He's just cold, bro.
That's what
school.
I'm
Yeah,
saying.
he's nice like that.
Come on.
Actually,
Cold
so
for sure.
our
He in
top
Buffalo.
scorer,
Literally
That's what I'm
cold.
saying.
Yeah.
Jean
That's what I
Tilo?
meant.
Jean Tilo. Yeah,
Jean
yeah.
Tilo.
Jean Tilo from the
Tilo.
Sound like
Bahamas.
your guy.
Bahamas, yes, sir.
Bahamas to Buffalo is rough.
I'm sorry.
bro.
Bahamas to Buffalo.
Two very different
He
beats,
had
bro.
one option,
FC
ball
Berlin.
out, bro.
Yeah,
Listen,
Wow.
yeah.
that's crazy.
What's it?
So the UPSL team is called FC Berlin.
Yeah,
Okay,
Oh,
sick.
wow.
In
Yeah,
Buffalo?
In Buffalo.
in the
That's
Buffalo
fire.
area.
Shout out Jean.
Yeah.
Shout out John. We got a couple of those guys. I was about to say, oh yeah, our playoff top scorer was Nathaniel Carrasco, and he played for UCal, University of California,
Shout out.
the Golden Bears. Yeah, he played wingback for them, and he played winger and wingback for them, and he played for his UPSL team at striker, and he ended up scoring 19 goals that year.
Tough.
Damn.
And this was this past season.
It's tough.
And so probably off of
Yeah.
that, he probably discovered he's better in a different position.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
And now he thought his career was over because he was only like an okay outside back.
Yeah.
But now he's a fire striker and he's got footage of him banging on all these teams.
Damn.
And so that kind of stuff can kickstart your career.
That's cool, yeah.
So my answer is if you're playing in college, you should be playing the UPSL. It's more exposure, more game footage. Playing more is never going to hurt you. It just comes down to whether you're coached in the end of it.
Yeah, I was going to say
How much
scheduling.
overlap is there in the seasons? Because I'm sure that's a consideration for college
Yeah, for
ballers.
sure. In the fall, it probably will get tough.
Yeah. that'd be tough.
But most colleges don't play in the spring, and when we do fall and spring,
Okay.
and then we do regional cups in the summer, and we do winter cups as well.
Fire.
So we're just trying to get as many playing opportunities as possible for these guys, and people jump in and jump out of the league. Like we have teams that only play in the spring, we have teams that only play in the fall. But yeah, no, we try, like I said, we try to be as flexible as possible. Yeah.
So you've talked about the journey for players, but what about the journey for coaches? Is this an opportunity for them as well to kind of show their skill set with a new crop of players and slowly move up the ladder?
Yeah.
I'm just curious for them because I'm sure the teams have a lot of turnover, so that's got to be an interesting scenario with the
Yeah,
coaches too.
yeah. So the coaches, I'm glad you brought that up. So I got two good examples from you. One is for past pros. So I gave you. We talked about this a little bit. I gave you that list, Seb, where we got some former pro players that are now coaching in the UPSL. So, for example, easy one, Jermaine Jones.
Fire.
He's living in the GOAT. He's living in California. He's looking to do some coaching, get some coaching experience. He's coaching a UPSL team, FC Selma. Jorge Villafana, who played for the Portland Timbers in the U.S. national team, an outside back. He's coaching his team in Portland. Just many examples. I had another couple of examples for you, but this is kind of how people kickstart their coaching careers in the UPSL.
Bill Hamid, is he coaching? Or
No,
he
he
He's
played.
played. Okay, gotcha.
He played. He's a different example. He kind of used the UPSL to kind of get back in the rhythm and get back into shape.
Okay.
To jumpstart his playing career, and so he just signed a deal with the USL team, Miami FC.
Fire.
After playing for Virginia Dream last year.
I saw that. Yeah.
But yeah, no. To go back to the coaching stuff, a lot of pros when they're done coaching, the first thing they do is coach a UPSL team. You'd be surprised how many. And even like Christian Fuchs. There's another one in New York in the Northeast. But yeah, ton of former pros that come here to coach. The other thing I was going to say is a lot of players that maybe don't have any pro playing experience to get into coaching, start coaching in the UPSL. And so actually my coach of the season, I just called this guy 2 days ago. He's 27 years old, and he took his team to the national finals in the UPSL, FC Folsom. So he literally just started coaching. It's his first team, and it's like his first or second year doing it, and they went all the way to the end, right?
Damn.
And they got second place, came just short of that prize money. But I was like, listen, bro, like you're younger than me, and you're killing it with this team. Like I gotta make you coach of the year. So
that's amazing.
I just talked to him. They didn't lose any games. I think they won like all 19 games.
Wow.
They only tied once. And he's the one who made the decision to take that kid from, University of Cal playing outside back to put him up top and see what he can do. And that obviously paid off. And that kid obviously, like we said, scored 20 goals and took them to the national finals. So, people with no coaching experience come in here and they find success. People with great playing experience that have played for like national teams, they come here and they also find success. It just kind of depends. Because of such a big league, it kind of depends on finding an organization that fits you and finding a situation that kind of caters to you and helps you on what you want to do. So
That's really dope to hear.
Go ahead.
Brought up Atlanta before, how people were able to, make things shake and make a career out there. Let me know what happened with Caleb Wiley, man.
Caleb Wiley.
Shout out Caleb, man.
Baller.
Caleb,
Great story.
Caleb's a massive baller. I mean, the fact that he was playing with the national team when he was like 17 or 18, playing
Crazy.
outside back. I'm pretty sure he started his Atlanta United career in the MLS. He scored like 2 goals in the first couple of games. He got 2 assists in like his 3rd game ever. So he was absolutely killing it. He got signed by Chelsea not too long ago. But Caleb was playing in the Atlanta United Academy setup. And then he just kept getting promoted. So I believe he was 16 when he got called up to play for the 19s who were playing in the UPSL. And he was playing in a variety of different positions, midfield, a wing back. He was playing, forward position outside. But Caleb didn't have a bad game in the UPSL. And he kept improving. And that team was pretty good, but Caleb was
Standout.
Caleb was obviously
He's
a
different.
standout. Yeah, I mean, I talked to his former coach after he got signed by Chelsea, and the thing he kept telling me about was just the work ethic and the work rate. And this kid doesn't let anybody out hustle him. And so I think Caleb's a good example of like maybe like not the most technically gifted or like he's not a great shooter or he heads the ball well or all this other stuff. But when he gets on that pitch and he's a workhorse,
Puts it all out there.
you know what I mean? And so I think, and that's something that teams over in Europe are starting to respect now is that they know American guys are going to work their butts off.
Sure.
And so Caleb played in our league for about 1.5 years. I would say maybe a year. That didn't last long. He went to MLS Next Pro. That didn't last long. played. So he went from UPSL
No, it was
to
quick, it was
MLS All-Star in 2 years.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And then 6 months after that, he got signed by Chelsea.
That's
Crazy
it.
story.
So
It could be you.
it
Could be you.
It's a fact.
It could be you.
Absolutely.
But yeah, no, we got a ton of stories like that. You know,
It's amazing.
So yeah, Caleb, big baller. Another
Big.
one that I wanted to shout out was Diego Luna.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So Diego Luna just got MLS Newcomer of the Year. He was the youngest person on the 2024 All-Star roster. I was at the game. I was sitting with y'all at that game in DC
Yeah.
at Audi Field.
Yeah.
Shout out Audi Field.
Yeah.
Shout out Audi.
Shout out Audi.
I don't know about shouting out DC United, but
Yeah.
for sure, shout out Audi Field. Yeah, Diego Luna, that was another kid that he got written off at a young age because you know he maybe was a little bit overweight. He didn't really look like a proper baller. He was
A
short.
little shorter too. Yeah.
He was a little shorter kid, you know, maybe a little rounder than he should be. Everybody was
Luka.
writing him off. You know what I mean?
Shaqiri.
Yeah, other players are like this. Yeah, other players are like this.
It's an archetype, man. You gotta.
Yeah.
Right, but even
The
and some of
power
these guys
comes from the gut.
Come on.
exactly. And some of these guys have some of the best feet in the game too.
Nah, but
You know what I mean?
I'm not gonna lie, your touch has to be nice if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. low center of gravity too. Know how to shield the
Yeah.
Just
ball.
because I got a
shifty.
belly don't mean you can take the ball from me.
Mhm.
Facts.
Yeah,
Might be harder
exactly.
actually.
It might be more difficult.
more
It might
difficult.
be more
Yeah.
It's a
difficult.
repellent, bro. It's a repellent. It's a repellent.
Repellent is such an insane word.
Yeah, that's funny.
Shout
But-
out Diego though.
But yeah,
Yeah.
shout out Diego. You know, he kind of got written off. Couldn't really find an MLS academy to join.
Yep.
Ended up linking with Barcelona Academy in Arizona.
Oh,
I've heard about them.
Barcelona's official academy in Arizona,
wow.
which just so happened to be playing in the UPSL.
Mm.
And so he was 17 years old, 18 years old playing with us. And then good thing Real Salt Lake, I believe, has a connection with that Barcelona Academy in Arizona. So he just got picked up through that pipeline. But nobody had any idea that this kid was going to be what he is today. You know what I mean? And this, and we're talking about maybe the future number 10 of the U.S. national team. Like I said, MLS newcomer last year, youngest guy on the roster. Ended up finishing with about 10 goals. And go look at some of his highlights. He's scoring bangers too.
Yeah. This one back.
So just shot. I'm gonna check his
MLS
highlights after
got
this.
bangers only.
Yeah, no, for sure. That kid can ball. Yeah. So a couple of these guys for sure started their careers off in the UPSL, and it helps you really transition to the MLS level.
Any women as well? Because they're
too,
definitely
yeah.
part of the UPSL.
Yeah,
ranking as
we've
well.
we've got a couple. Our last Women's World Cup, we just had the goalkeeper off of Little Haiti Women's in the UPSL
That's
Women
incredible.
League.
We gotta clap it up. World Cup?
Yeah,
World
yeah,
Cup?
yeah.
Nah,
Yeah,
come on. We'll
yeah,
clap it
for
up
sure,
that.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
fire.
That was a big one for us. That was definitely our first. That might be our first ever World Cup player. Is
That's
we had
incredible.
the backup keeper for Haiti was playing in the UPSL.
Damn.
Amazing.
So,
That's fire.
You know,
That's the people back.
Haitian.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's fire.
No, man.
That's pretty tough. So actually, you know, we've had that success. So technically, our most successful player is actually a woman because of that player
Beautiful.
right there.
Yeah, no
And we just-
surprise.
And we
Yeah.
just had, you know, there's another one, Kimi
Ascanio.
Ascanio. I think that's how you say her name.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Kimmy, if I'm saying your name wrong. She played for Florida United.
Cool.
And she is one of the youngest players to sign in the NWSL. She just got her pro deal last year.
Fire.
She might be 15 or 16.
Crazy.
But yeah, no, especially on the women's side where it's harder to find opportunities to play, where
Yeah.
you know there isn't really, like, we would be like the only pro development soccer league if we get this women's league to where we want it to be, which is a a huge nationally recognized league. This year, I also want to say that we're doing a women's national championship for the first time
Let's
ever.
clap it up for that too.
Yes, sir.
Love to hear
Yeah,
that. Love to
that's
hear that.
big. So
Yeah.
the fact that we're able to give out prize money, have a national competition for our women, and have that be the official pro development semi-pro tournament, and that's all just, we're not trying to compete with NWSL and USL, W League or Super League or whatever. We're trying to feed that, and we're trying to work with them.
Yeah.
So we've had a couple of success stories in the women's league, but you know that's going to only get better every year, especially as you see the Women's World Cup is growing to include more teams.
Yep.
And so because more teams will be involved, more players will be involved, and
Yeah.
we have like the most diverse league in the country. So, you know, we've already got couple of U17 Brazilian girls playing in
Fire.
Florida. You know what I mean? I don't know if they're going to make it to the women's national team for Brazil, but for sure, like the stepping blocks are there, the pieces are there, and it's only a matter of time before you see that.
Phenomenal.
Got you.
So,
What's coming up? What should people be looking out for?
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, man, the spring season coming up. This is going to be one of our biggest seasons ever, both on the women's side and the men's side. You're going to be looking at.
Let me stop you. When you say this, make sure you say UPSL every single time for the clip, so that like when you say, oh, if I ask you like what's coming up, be like our next. When you say our, just say the UPSL,
Okay.
so like they know.
Okay. True. So what's coming up next? So in the UPSL for our UPSL National Championship on the men's side and the women's side, a lot to look forward to there. We're expanding those competitions. We're introducing more prize money. So definitely excited to do that. Yeah, man, hopefully doing more outside of that as well, doing more showcase opportunities, working more with, and that's part of my job is kind of like creating partnerships with these guys, reaching out to guys like Jermaine Jones and Alessandro Del Piero in Los Angeles and Christian Fuchs in New York, and trying to figure out how more the league can plug into those opportunities that they're creating over there by doing, more trials and more showcases and creating opportunities to get scouting from European clubs. And, in Florida, a few times a year, we have some college showcases where we get some local schools and then Miami to come out and kind of look at those players. And so we're trying to expand kind of our workings with MLS clubs and college teams and college coaches. And like I said, increase the prize money every year. But the biggest thing that we're excited about is growing geographically and including more regions. Like I said, we just started doing SoCal Central Coast, doing the Gulf Coast and the New Orleans area. We have 8 conferences for our women's. We want to increase that to maybe 10, 12, 15, 20 to keep growing that. My goal is to see more MLS clubs involved. I'll give you an example that after this national championship, shout out Soda City, from Columbia, South Carolina, won the national championship. First club to do it 2 years in a row.
Fire.
Only club to win it twice. Only club to do it 2 years in a row. They're getting calls from USL teams who want to scrimmage against them.
Fire. Wow.
Soda City.
You know what I mean? Soda
That's
City.
a dope
right?
name. The name is fire.
Soda City.
I thought it was gonna be like Minnesota or something.
Yeah, no.
South Carolina?
I have no idea.
South Carolina.
I
Yeah.
have no idea where the soda part comes from. But
Soda or Sota?
soda, like
That makes sense.
like Sprite. That's sipping on that soda.
Word.
Sipping on that scissor.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Sugar.
No, you mentioned some names though. Alessandro Del who? What's Del
Yeah,
Piero doing at UPSL?
Talk about
man?
his
What's going
involvement
on?
because that's
Yes.
a huge name to be involved for sure.
That's a big one. So, I was actually just talking to him. You can look this up on the UPSL YouTube. I did a podcast with him a couple months ago.
Fire.
Alessandro, look that up. Alessandro Del Piero UPSL podcast. Look it up on YouTube.
Seb's goat.
Say it again.
Seb's goat.
That's your
He's an
goat.
Italian boy, so
Good
you
guy.
know,
Good player.
one of his guys. Yeah.
Okay. Damn,
My
I haven't
dad's.
met him yet, but when I do, I'll FaceTime you. Don't worry.
Yeah.
You met him in Miami.
I
no?
did. That doesn't count, bro. I gotta actually like hang out.
Okay,
with him.
fair.
I'm not in for the meet and greets and the handshakes. I
That's
gotta
proper.
talk to the man.
Yeah.
True.
But I work a lot with Alessandro's club, LA10. They made it to the quarterfinals of the UPSL National Championship. So I was working a lot with that group on marketing and promoting their team. That's basically Alessandro getting into business in the Los Angeles area. He's invested in a restaurant. He's invested in Juventus Academy Los Angeles.
Hey.
And so someone proposed to him, let's do a adult side to kind of complement the youth academy they have going on there. And so he's now investing into a UPSL team that he's done for the past 2 years. And basically these guys went from brand new in the UPSL, they're playing Division II in the UPSL, to getting promoted all the way up. And then a year and a half later, they're competing in the UPSL national quarterfinals. And so if you look at the podcast I had with Del Piero, you can see that he really connects a lot with the fact that players in America are struggling to find out where to go and how to get to the next level and that type of stuff. And, he's not stupid. He watches Serie A. He sees all the American guys. I mean, there's Weston and Timothy Way on Juventus, and then you got Christian on AC Milan and Yunus Musa. So he sees the guys coming to Italy. And so he basically kind of sees this both as like, yes, a business opportunity maybe, but also like it's something where you can help create careers for players that have an impact on the league that means the most to him, and the club that means the most to him. So when he's looking at Juventus and he says Weston McKennie and Timothy Weah, he's like, man, why can't I have my own club in LA? Every time I'm flying back to LA on my own business, I should have my own club I'm checking into and creating opportunities for those guys over there. So he's really, really excited to find those hidden gems all along the Los Angeles County area and bring those over to Italy and bring those over to Europe. and kind of just help create that pathway. I mean, guys like that who like soccer is in their blood. When you talk to people like that, like they're not in it for the money. They're in it to create. It's all like a legacy thing to them. They want to create a club that's around for like 20, 30, 40 years that can say, okay, this kid plays for Man U, that kid plays for Juventus, that kid plays over there. And so talking to Alessandro, he's really all about creating a legacy and creating something meaningful in the States. He doesn't just want to come here and open a restaurant and leave and make money. You know what I mean? He really wants to do something special. But yeah, I encourage you guys all to watch that episode I had with him. It was me and Alessandro Del Piero and the partner of his, Jeffrey Whalen, a former studio exec who used to work with Disney and stuff like that. So they got a good little club going on over there. And yeah, I mean, this league is the perfect spot, in my opinion, for entrepreneurs, right? It's the easiest way to start a brand, to start a club, to create something meaningful, to have meaningful work, and to create opportunities to maybe change lives. And think about it, if you're starting a Division I team in the UPSL, you're paying like $1,000 or $2,000, and you can consider yourself an owner of a semi-pro club in America. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, Five-A-Side FC.
Nah, Kendrick said, yo, how do we own a team? I feel like we just found our way in.
I asked that question
I actually
recently.
think we found our way.
All right, so that's another question too. Like, what's the pathway to like ownership? Like, if you're a business person, if you're interested in like creating a team, like, do you have any information on like the pricing, the process, which things that you should be thinking of? Like, are there regulations for like having certain practice facilities? I know this may be a little out of like the work that you're focused on, but do you have anything to offer folks?
No, I talk a lot to new teams coming in.
Okay.
You know, first thing I would say is tell me what you're starting off with, what you got, and I'll tell you if it's a good idea or not.
All right, I got 5 guys.
You got 5
Five guys,
5
5K, and we in Brooklyn. What's up?
You need more than 5.
Wait, I need more 5. What? 5 guys or 5 kids?
5. You got 5 guys that got 5K each, because then you're definitely in.
Okay, bet.
All right, we
No,
just got
let's
it
do
together.
No, you really only need the cash to get started.
Yeah.
Okay.
To pay your registration fees, and then you need a home field.
Okay.
And if you have a home field to play on and you have your league fees paid, only thing you really need to focus on is making sure you have a way to get all your games recorded on video.
Yeah.
And so everything else besides that is basics regulations and stipulations. Like, you got to have corner flags, you got to have a net,
Yeah.
you got to have like seats for people to sit.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, you really only need cash up front and a home field to play on. And it's really that easy. And if the toughest thing people, you know, come to terms with is like guys dropping in and out, teams fold, maybe you run out of funding, because you're gonna have to keep paying that league fee, annually. Yeah. And so a lot of ways that people do it is like they'll have like 20 guys on a team, they'll get like a high school soccer field that they'll rent out, and then they'll collect club dues from each player, and that helps facilitate the money that's paid. So a lot of this you can do. You know, the cash flow won't be huge, but a lot of this you can at least break even and say you have a team and say you have a brand, say you have a club. Yeah. But yeah, that's the biggest thing is you really got to have a home field. And that's honestly a huge problem in America is finding places to play.
Literally.
You know what I mean?
Where do you do that here in New York City specifically?
I know, it's tough.
We'll make one, bro.
Yeah, for Las Palmas Cup, bro.
We'll clear some
where did you
ground.
guys play for Las Palmas?
Newton Barge Field. But this dude had to like join the mafia to book it.
Yeah,
Essentially.
genuine.
Being so serious.
Okay.
Bro, I had to sacrifice a pig.
Something.
Much more than that.
Sounds like the things I've seen.
The New York Field Mafia is scary.
Yeah, I believe it, bro.
That's funny, son.
That's honestly the biggest deciding factor of how much the UPSL succeeds in an area is probably directly correlated to how much field space.
Access. Yeah, of course.
You know, and that was one of the first things Alessandro said to me. And he was like, I can't find any damn fields in this country. Like, that's what he was telling me. He's like, I'm about to have to build my own
And that's
field.
LA. Imagine here.
Yeah, LA. Yeah, exactly.
Way more space.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I mean, that's probably the biggest. That's probably the hardest part. Is and if you do find a field, they're gonna charge you up the ass.
Yeah. We gotta make one.
You got. Yeah, I don't know. That's the hardest part.
It's not that
Turf?
crazy. It might be less
allowed?
crazy, though.
The turf's allowed.
True.
We used to say we ideally would say no
turf.
turf and no football lines, but we can't be that picky. It's,
Yeah.
Now we need this grassroots.
Yeah.
There's no way.
It's tough. But for like when it gets to like the national playoffs and stuff starts getting televised,
real.
then we're like, please no
Yeah.
football lines because that looks horrible on TV.
Yeah.
Right.
We could do like a LIU.
What we usually do is we
It's
do
the
St.
renting
John's.
cost is the thing. St. John's?
We do St.
Okay.
John's.
Mm.
We usually grab them for our Northeast final, but the fact that we keep booking them makes me think like there aren't a lot of fields available. Like,
Yeah.
or maybe they're just giving us a good deal. Shout out St. John's. Thank
Shout
you,
out St. John's.
Red
Yeah.
Storm.
That's
Big
cool.
school, big
Shout out
school.
J. Cole.
But J. Cole. But
Kemba Walker?
but
Kemba
yeah.
ain't good. He went to UConn, bro.
Oh.
You tried
that
it.
that was mixed up.
It was a shot in the dark.
Nah,
It was
it's
a shot
all
in
right,
the
bro.
dark.
You put up from 40. It's all right. It don't always go in, bro. It's all-star game. You let it fly. You let it fly. You know what
I'm
I'm
not
saying?
gonna lie. We can just move on. I wasn't. We can't highlight that.
Yeah.
Bro. Nah, well, thank you so much for coming on, bro.
Yeah,
really, really appreciate it. We got some other footy topics
I have one more
to
question.
get in with you as well. But one last question for yourself.
Go ahead.
One more question.
Let's go.
If you had to sum up like the mission of the UPSL in one sentence, what would it be?
The mission of the UPSL in one sentence.
Take your time too if you need it. It's a great
You
question.
didn't
bro.
prep me for this, Seb. It's not very
From the
fair.
heart. From the heart.
From the heart. True.
He's heartless.
The mission. I mean, it's gonna sound cheesy,
That's
but
not-
it really, because we're so focused on eliminating barriers to entry,
Mhm.
because we're so focused on being flexible, on working with MLS teams, on working with the colleges, I would honestly say it's gonna sound so cheesy, but it really should be just football for everyone and all people
Yeah.
for all backgrounds, right? And that's hard to say these days because of income disparities. And so that's why I keep highlighting the fact that like $30 you can register to play in our league as a player. Like that's as low as we can possibly go. And
Yeah.
like that's as affordable as it gets. You know what I mean?
Boy,
And so
it's congestion pricing.
congestion. I
Two
just found
trips.
out what that is today.
Insane.
Don't talk to me about
Yeah,
congestion pricing.
don't talk to us about it.
The tolls got tolls. Anyways, New York, I'm not
Welcome
coming
to
back.
Jersey.
Anyways, oh, it's Jersey's fault.
Well, it's a bit of both.
It's within the city.
Yeah, within the city. But
just-
Jersey
yeah.
tolls, I'm saying specifically, are super crazy, as you know.
I'm gonna take my ass back to Miami Beach.
Y'all got problems down there too. Listen, we
got our
can
own
get into
problems.
that. as
Give it
well.
5
Got
years.
on,
Give
bro.
it
Yeah.
5 years.
Yeah, when the city's underwater.
Type shit.
Wow.
Type shit.
Well.
It's gonna be underwater up here too, man. You know.
Nah, we'll be all right, bro. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Oh wow, I
What is
didn't even
right
know
there?
that.
We'll be all right, bro.
Oh wow.
Maybe in
All right.
150, but
Anyway,
we'll play
Well, while
for
we
fifth.
got it, football for everyone and all
love it.
peoples, all races, all backgrounds, all incomes, like all ages. Well, not all ages, because if you're too old, don't make my league whack. But you know,
But too young is
unless
okay.
you're nice though,
dude,
right?
unless you're nice. Well,
Isn't there like a 50+ guy in Japan who's pro?
He plays
yeah,
in Portugal.
he plays
now.
in Portugal
Yeah.
now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey man,
Yeah,
what if he
yeah.
wants to
Still
go to Little
playing.
Haiti FC?
Soda.
Or soda.
I don't think.
Soda
First off,
City.
he wouldn't
Soda
understand
City.
a word if he played on Little
That's
Haiti
fine,
FC,
bro.
you know?
Football's the language.
Football
Yeah.
is the
Football's the
language.
language,
passport,
bro.
bro.
Yeah.
Do you know the oldest player
The oldest player.
off the top? This is
We
more
have
to-
some old ones.
This is more to give what's the word, hope,
Yeah.
instead of killing some people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So to be honest, like most of the coaches in our league under the age of 45 also register themselves as players.
Nice.
Dang.
So,
That's
fine.
fire.
but
That's
you're allowed
cool.
to do that.
That's
Yeah.
normal.
They,
Player
and
coach
they
is normal.
and they'll jump
Yeah.
in too, and they'll jump in at the end of games.
Little
And
CDM
so-
action. Hold it
Yeah.
down the midfield.
Maybe
where
left back
direct
where you're
play.
out the way. You know what I mean? Like
The
Hold it
coach
down.
is hopping off the sideline,
Oh, for
jumping
sure.
in the match.
That's what
Yeah,
they used
yeah,
to do
they're
in the
allowed to do
60s
it.
and shit. They was really
Yeah,
player
yeah,
coaches.
yeah, they're allowed to, because
I mean, Wayne Rooney did it not too long ago.
Derby County, right?
Company did it not too long ago.
Yeah.
company did it.
He was a
Burnley?
player coach at Anderlecht. In
Oh,
Belgium.
Anderlecht, you're right.
I don't know if that's true, but I'm gonna look it up.
I'll look it up.
No, I think it is true. I
Nah,
think
it's only because it's Seb. Like the things he used to
I'd
be
be lying,
spewing on
bro.
this pod, bro.
Okay,
Crazy
okay.
lies,
Lying,
bro.
bro.
Oh, I didn't know Seb be lying on here
Seb do be lying.
in front of America.
In front of the world.
In front of the
The
globe.
world, the globe, bro. It's a fact. Football for everyone, though.
Football for everyone.
beautiful.
That's
Yeah,
not my
yeah,
guy's
yeah.
PR, man. He don't be lying.
Yeah.
No, it's fine. It's true.
It's part of the brand. It's honestly part of the brand.
Fair.
Someone got to lie.
This was true though.
Fire.
Yeah,
I like that.
that's-
Shout out.
That is true,
Somebody
yeah.
doesn't need to.
Huh?
Somebody doesn't need to.
I know, but that's his thing, man. We're going to let it rock.
All right.
We're going to let it rock.
Anyway, I'm
Right.
glad I asked you that. That was a beautiful.
That was beautiful,
response.
man.
Yeah. Appreciate that.
UPSL, football for everyone. Let's clap it up for that.
Football for everyone.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely
yes, sir.
love it.